Jasmine Crockett's voice cuts through the CNN studio like a blade, slamming Byron Donalds' Jim Crow remarks. Sparks fly as she questions his ties to the black community, and he fires back. This clash is explosive. The CNN set is a pressure cooker, the kind of place where careers are made or broken. The lights are harsh, the audience hushed, and the moderator, a seasoned journalist with a knack for stirring the pot, leans forward. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett sits to the left, her posture rigid, her eyes locked on Congressman Byron Donalds, across the table. Donalds, cool and composed, adjusts his tie, but there's a tightness in his jaw that betrays him. The topic, race and responsibility in America. It's a minefield, and they both know it. The debate kicks off with a question about historical narratives. Donalds, a rising star in the Republican Party, had recently made headlines for comments that seemed to romanticize the Jim Crow era, suggesting it had strong family structures for Black Americans. The backlash was swift, and now he's here, defending himself on live TV. He starts with his usual polish, framing his remarks as a call for personal responsibility. "Look, I'm not saying Jim Crow was good," he says, his voice steady. "But we can't ignore that black families were intact then, unlike today. We need to focus on what builds communities, not what tears them down." Crockett's hand shoots up, her expression a mix of disbelief and fury. The moderator nods, and she doesn't hold back. "Congressman, you're out here waxing poetic about Jim Crow like it was some golden age," she says, her Texas drawl sharp. "Let's be real. Black folks were lynched, segregated, and denied basic rights. You're cherry-picking history to push a narrative, and I'm not here for it." The audience murmurs, some nodding, others shifting uncomfortably. Donald's eyes narrow, but he doesn't interrupt. Not yet. She presses harder, her voice rising. "You talk about community, but how connected are you, really? You've got folks questioning whether you're speaking for Black America or just your party." The jab lands, and the room feels smaller. Crockett's not done. She leans forward, her words deliberate. "Your interracial marriage doesn't disqualify you, but when you downplay Jim Crow, it makes people wonder where your loyalty lies." The studio gasps. It's a low blow, personal and pointed, and the moderator tries to steer things back, but the gloves are off. Donalds doesn't flinch, but his calm is cracking. "Congresswoman, you're out of line," he says, his voice low but firm. "My marriage, my life, my choices, they don't make me less black or less committed. I'm talking about solutions, not playing victim." The crowd erupts, some cheering, others booing. Crockett shakes her head, unfazed. "Solutions? You're selling revisionist history, and black folks aren't buying it." The exchange escalates, each point sharper than the last. Crockett calls out Donald's voting record, accusing him of siding with policies that hurt marginalized communities. He fires back, questioning her reliance on divisive rhetoric instead of practical fixes. The moderator struggles to keep up, but the audience is glued, phones out, live tweeting every barb. Social media's already buzzing. Crockett vs. Donalds is trending, and the clips are going viral. As the segment nears its end, Crockett lands a final blow. "You can't rewrite the pain of our ancestors to score points," she says, her voice steady but searing. "If you're going to speak on our history, at least respect it." Donalds opens his mouth to respond, but the moderator cuts to commercial, leaving the tension unresolved. The camera pans to the audience, divided and restless, as the internet explodes with reactions. This isn't just a debate. It's a reckoning, and it's far from over. The CNN studio buzzes with electric tension as the commercial break ends. Jasmine Crockett's words still hang in the air, sharp and unyielding, while Byron Donalds' restrained anger is palpable. This fight's just getting started. The cameras roll again, and the moderator, sensing the moment, dives right in. Congressman Donalds, you were about to respond, she says, her tone neutral, but her eyes gleaming with anticipation. The audience leans forward, phones still glowing with half-written tweets. Donald straightens, his voice measured but laced with steel. Congresswoman Crockett, you talk about respect, but you're the one dragging my personal life into this, he says. My family, my marriage, that's not up for debate. I'm here to talk policy, not to be lectured on my blackness by you or anyone else. The crowd splits, half cheering, half muttering dissent. Crockett's lips tighten, but she doesn't look away. She fires back, her voice cutting through the noise. Policy? Let's talk policy then. You voted against funding for community programs that help black families, families you claim to champion. How's that respecting our history? The accusation lands like a punch, and the audience erupts. Donald shakes his head, his composure fraying. Those programs were bloated with waste, he counters. I'm for efficiency, for real solutions, that don't just throw money at problems. You'd know that if you looked past the talking points. The jab stings, and Crockett's eyes flash with defiance. The moderator tries to pivot, asking about systemic racism, but Crockett's not letting go. You can't talk systemic racism while glossing over Jim Crow's scars, she says, her Texas drawl thick with conviction. You're out here saying black families were better off then? Tell that to the folks who couldn't vote, who couldn't eat at a lunch counter. You're not just wrong, you're dangerously wrong. The room feels like it's holding its breath. Donalds leans forward, his voice rising for the first time. I never said better off. I said we had resilience, strength. You're twisting my words to fit your narrative, and it's dishonest. The confrontation spirals, each exchange more heated than the last. Crockett accuses Donalds of pandering to a party that's never cared about black progress. He snaps back, calling her a career politician who thrives on division. The personal digs keep coming. Crockett questions his authenticity, while Donalds mocks her performative outrage. The moderator's attempts to rein them in are futile. This is a verbal cage match, and neither is backing down. The audience is split, some shouting support, others heckling, as the studio feels like it might combust. Social media's on fire now, with clips of Crockett's dangerously wrong line racking up millions of views. Donald's supporters rally, accusing Crockett of playing the race card, while her base hails her as a truth-teller. Pundits on X are already dissecting every word, some calling it a career-defining moment, others a reckless overstep. Back in the studio, the tension's so thick you could choke on it. Crockett's not just debating policy, she's challenging Donald's entire worldview. And he's fighting back, not as the polished congressman, but as a man defending his identity. As the segment winds down, Donalds lands a sharp counter. You want to talk loyalty to the community? Look at your record, pushing policies that keep us dependent, not empowered. That's not progress, that's control. The crowd roars, divided as ever, and Crockett's poised to respond when the moderator cuts in, promising more after the break. The camera lingers on their faces, her fury, his defiance, as the internet braces for round 3. This isn't just a debate anymore. It's a clash of truths, and the fallout's only beginning. Back from the break, the CNN studio crackles with unresolved fury. Byron Donalds' accusation of control hangs heavy, and Jasmine Crockett's glare could burn through steel. The moderator's call for calm is drowned out by the crowd's restless energy. The lights seem brighter, the air tighter, as the debate resumes. Crockett doesn't wait for an invitation. Control? She says, her voice a blade. You're out here accusing me of keeping folks dependent while you back tax cuts for the rich and gut programs for the poor. That's not empowerment, Congressman. That's betrayal. The audience erupts, some clapping, others jeering. Donald's face hardens, but he holds her gaze. You're deflecting, he shoots back. My votes prioritize jobs, Opportunity, not handouts that trap people in cycles of poverty. You'd rather grandstand than admit it. The crowd's noise swells, a chaotic mix of cheers and boos. The moderator tries to pivot to historical accountability, but Crockett's on a roll. "Let's talk accountability then," she says, leaning forward. "You keep dodging your Jim Crow comments. You can't just say resilience and erase the terror, the oppression. Own what you said, or are you scared to?" Her words hit, like a challenge, and the studio feels like it's tilting. Donald's jaw clenches, and he responds with icy precision. "I've owned every word, Congresswoman. I'm not scared of you or your spin. I'm saying we can learn from the past, without being chained to it. You're the one stuck in victimhood." The audience splits again, some shouting support, others hissing. The confrontation digs deeper, personal and raw. Crockett calls out Donald's polished talking points, accusing him of distancing himself from the black experience to curry favor with his party. "You're performing for an audience that doesn't know our struggle," she says, her voice thick with emotion. "I'm speaking for the people who live it every day." Donalds fires back, his voice rising. "Don't you dare question my experience. I grew up in Brooklyn, not some ivory tower. I know struggle, and I'm fighting for solutions, not your approval." The exchange is electric, each word a spark that threatens to ignite the room. Social media's a battlefield now. X is flooded with memes, Crockett's fierce glare, Donald's defiant stare, alongside heated arguments. Some call Crockett a warrior for truth, others say she's bullying. Donald's base rallies, claiming he's being unfairly targeted, while critics demand he apologize for his Jim Crow remarks. The clips are everywhere, racking up views as pundits weigh in, some praising the raw honesty, others decrying the spectacle. In the studio, the moderator's struggling, her questions barely cutting through the crossfire. Crockett and Donalds aren't debating policy anymore. They're clashing over identity, loyalty, and what it means to represent. The tension peaks when Crockett lands a searing line. "You talk solutions, but your solutions leave black folks behind. You're not lifting us up. You're stepping over us to climb." The crowd gasps, then roars, as Donald's eyes flash with anger. He leans in, voice low but fierce. "You don't get to define my fight. I'm in this for my kids, my community, not your applause." The rawness of his words quiets the room for a split second, but Crockett's already gearing up, her expression unyielding. The moderator, sensing chaos, jumps in, promising a final round after the break. The camera catches Crockett's steely resolve and Donald's barely contained frustration as the screen fades. The internet's already dissecting every moment, and this battle's far from done. The CNN studio pulses with raw energy as the break ends, the weight of Crockett's accusation and Donald's fierce rebuttal still reverberating. The crowd's restless, and the air feels like it could snap. This is no ordinary debate. It's a showdown. The moderator, her voice strained from trying to keep order, jumps in. "Congresswoman Crockett, you had the floor," she says, but Crockett's already locked onto Donald's, her eyes burning. "You say you're fighting for your community, but your votes tell a different story," she says, her Texas drawl slicing through the noise. "You back policies that strip away protections, that widen the wealth gap. You're not building bridges, you're burning them." The audience roars, some cheering her on, others shouting in protest. Donald's face is a mask of controlled fury, but his hands grip the table, betraying his calm. He doesn't wait for the moderator. "You're throwing around buzzwords like wealth gap to dodge the real issue," he fires back, his voice sharp. "My policies push for jobs, for entrepreneurship, for real wealth building. You're peddling dependency dressed up as justice, and it's holding us back." The crowd split, their cheers and jeers clashing like thunder. Crockett shakes, her head undeterred. "Jobs? Your party's jobs are low-wage traps that keep black families scraping by. Don't lecture me on progress when you're cozying up to folks who'd rather see us fail. The jab lands and the studio feels like it's on the edge of chaos. The moderator tries to steer them toward solutions, but the personal stakes keep pulling them back. Donalds leans forward, his voice low and intense. You want to talk cozying up? You're playing to the cameras, not the people. I'm not here for clout. I'm here for results. Crockett's eyes flash. Results? Your results are black kids in underfunded schools and families priced out of health care. That's your legacy, not mine. The exchange is relentless, each line a verbal jab that draws blood. The audience is a live wire, some standing, others yelling, as the moderator's calls for calm go ignored. Social media's a furnace now, with Crockett vs. Donalds trending worldwide. Clips of Crockett's burning bridges line and Donalds' dependency retort are looping endlessly, fueling arguments across X. Supporters of Crockett call her a fearless voice. Detractors say she's divisive. Donalds' base defends his pragmatism, while critics slam his Jim Crow comments as unforgivable. Pundits are split. Some see this as a defining clash of ideologies, others a messy spectacle. In the studio, it's just Crockett and Donalds, two forces colliding, neither willing to yield. The confrontation hits a new peak when Donalds takes a bold swing. You keep painting me as the villain, but your rhetoric divides us more than my votes ever could, he says, his voice rising. You're not uniting Black America, you're weaponizing it. The crowd gasps, then erupts as Crockett's expression hardens. She leans in, her voice steady but fierce. Weaponizing? I'm speaking truth to power, something you forgot. How to do. You're not a villain, Congressman. You're just lost. The room feels like it stops breathing, the weight of her words sinking in. Donald's eyes narrow, his response forming. But the moderator cuts in, her voice frantic. We'll wrap this up after the break. The camera holds on their faces. Crockett's unyielding resolve, Donald's barely contained rage, as the screen cuts to black. The internet's already bracing for the final round, and this clash is about to shake the nation. The CNN studio is a cauldron of tension as the final segment begins. Crockett's "You're just lost" and Donald's weaponizing charge, still echoing. The crowd's on edge, and the nation's watching. This is the moment it all comes to a head. The moderator, her voice tight, tries to regain control. Let's focus on moving forward, she says, but Crockett's not here for detours. She leans forward, her eyes locked on Donald's. You call me divisive, but I'm not the one rewriting history to make oppression sound noble, she says, her Texas drawl cutting deep. You're lost because you've traded truth for talking points, and Black America deserves better. The audience erupts, some cheering, others booing, but Crockett's gaze doesn't waver. Donald's face is stone, his voice low but fierce when he responds. Better? You're selling anger, not answers. I'm fighting for a future where we're not defined by pain, but you can't let go of the past. The crowd's noise is deafening, a split sea of loyalty. The moderator pushes for solutions, but the clash stays raw. Crockett calls out Donald's record, citing votes against affordable housing and education funding. You talk future, but your actions keep us stuck, she says, her voice thick with conviction. Donald's counters, his tone sharp. Those bills were riddled with pork. I'm for real reform, schools that teach, not indoctrinate, jobs that build wealth, not just paychecks. You're too busy pointing fingers to see it. The exchange is a verbal duel, each strike precise, each block fierce. The studio feels like it's vibrating, the audience feeding off every word. Social media's a wildfire. X is flooded with Crockett vs. Donalds posts, memes of Crockett's steely glare, Donald's clenched jaw, and endless hot takes. Her supporters hail her as a champion. Critics call her relentless. Donald's base praises his vision. Detractors demand accountability for his Jim Crow remarks. Clips of "You're just lost" and "weaponizing" are viral, with millions debating who landed the harder blow. In the studio, the moderators barely holding the reins as Crockett and Donalds trade barbs, their voices rising, their passion undeniable. It's not just policy. It's personal, a battle over who gets to define the Black experience. The climax hits when Crockett shifts gears, her voice softer but no less powerful. "I'm not here to divide, Congressman. I'm here because our people are hurting, and your words, your votes, they're not helping. We need leaders who face the truth, not dodge it." The room quiets, her sincerity piercing. Donalds pauses, his anger flickering into something else. Reflection, maybe. "I face the truth every day," he says, his voice steady. "I'm not dodging. I'm building. My way's different, but it's no less real." For a moment, the fight feels less like war, more like two people wrestling with the same pain. Different paths. The moderator, sensing the shift, wraps up. "We're out of time, but this conversation's far from over," she says. The audience applauds, a mix of awe and division. Crockett and Donalds nod stiffly, no handshake, but a grudging respect in their eyes. The camera pulls back as the studio lights dim, the internet still buzzing. In the days that follow, the debate sparks town halls, op-eds, and community forums. Crockett doubles down, hosting listening sessions in her district, while Donalds pushes his reform agenda, both chastened but unbowed. The clash forces a reckoning, not just for them, but for a nation grappling with race and history. Neither wins outright, but their fight ignites dialogue, raw and real, proving that truth, even when it hurts, can light the way forward.